is Radio Brockley.
Hello and welcome to Brockley News Extra, the programme where you get the chance to hear all you need to know about what's happening in and around the hospital, as well as updates on other local events and people who work in the community. I'm Alan Joyce, and coming up today, we take you back to our recent birthday celebrations, where we were visited by the Hospital Broadcasting Association's President, June Snowden. She came to speak to us about her role as President, and she also presented Long Service Awards to two of our members, Marge Walker and Karina Reeves, and we'll be hearing from them in the next hour as well. We'll also be hearing from one of our newest presenters, Devla Coffey, who has started her very own brand new soul show. So stay tuned to London's longest running hospital radio station, your number one recuperation station, Radio Brockley. So as I mentioned, we're very pleased to welcome an old friend of Radio Brockley back to the studio, June Snowden, who's the President of the Hospital Broadcasting Association. Hello, June. Thanks for coming down.
Oh, thanks, Alan. It's lovely to be here.
Lovely to see you again. For anyone who is not familiar with the Hospital Broadcasting Association, and there'll be many people listening who aren't, tell us a little bit about what's your role is and what you do at the HBA.
As you indicated, my role is as President of the Hospital Broadcasting Association. It's a role that I have been doing now since 2000. Chiefly, it is to get out, meet the members, support them, do what I can to help, attend events, attend annual general meetings. I've been known to be an independent person chairing meetings for them, problem solve for them. In the recent past, I've had a couple of stations where they needed a lot of guidance on charity registration and all sorts of things like that. So they are just one or two of them. The other, of course, is that by being there, it actually tells our members, hopefully you can tell me whether or not that's the case, but it says how much me personally, as the President, is passionate about helping the stations about hospital radio. I produce long service certificates for both individual members and for stations. Friday I was up in Wolverhampton presenting them the station with their 30th birthday certificate. So we had a little party there. But there are stations who have been going an awful lot longer, like 60 years in some cases. And I'm just as likely to go out to them as I am to a station who's only been going 20, 30 years. And there are a few stations who haven't been going that long. Maybe, I suppose, it would be quite interesting to find out which is the youngest station. And one of my ideals would be to find a hospital where there isn't a station and actually get one going again. I mean, that's one of our aims as a national association, but at the moment they seem to be shrinking more because stations where there are perhaps two or three in the same city or whatever, where trusts amalgamate the hospitals or take responsibility for several hospitals, you sometimes find that then one hospital takes priority over the other, and then the station in the lesser hospital tends to close or merge with the other. So, at its peak, I would say we had over 400 members.
Wow.
But that at its peak would have been 80s.
Well, it's a question that must come up time and time again, especially recently. What is the role of hospital radio now? Everyone's got what they want in terms of iPlayers and everything else. What do you tell people who come up with that question?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, hospital radio is absolutely very, very special. And even people like the BBC and other radio stations will tell you that there is no other radio station who can do what we can. We are very privileged. We are able to go and visit the patients when perhaps they are at their lowest, when they don't have any other visitors. So we aren't just a radio station. And this is something which in the public's eye is a bit difficult to get over. And I'm sure you have that difficulty too. Everyone says radio station, but we're far from just a radio station. We are a registered charity. Therefore, in most cases, therefore we have to comply with charity law. It's like a business. We've got to raise our own funds to produce new studios or for other particular projects. And we've got to take responsibility, and we are all volunteers. It is a completely different concept. And add to that the radio lollipops, which are the children's hospitals. Again, an offshoot, if you like, of the original concept of hospital radio. But because often when children are in hospital, specifically in children's hospitals, they, like here where you've got orthopaedic patients, are in for a longer term. Therefore, it's about helping them through that time. It's about, and the more we visit them, hopefully they'll take their minds off their ailments. And medically, it's been proven that music and distractions for patients do help, whether that be in the hospital or even at home, perhaps.
Definitely. You spend most of your time on the road visiting all the different hospitals. I dread to think how many miles you've clocked up over the 20 years or whatever you've been doing the role. What sort of exciting innovations have you been sort of seeing recently at hospital radio?
Well, I think I keep saying this every station I go to, we have got to embrace technology. If we do that, then I can see us staying around for a long, long time. And, for example, I've got generally a little microphone which is just like a lollipop stick, and you record onto that, and I can record messages, or I can record all sorts of things, and I can send them by email attachment, and people can play them anywhere in the country or probably in the world if they want to. I also use Skype. One of the stations down in Basingstoke in Hampshire, if I'm away at a project that I'm also involved in, which is not hospital related, I phone into their Skype from my Skype, and bear in mind I'm 4,000 miles away from them, but they've sent me a rundown of the programme and details of requests, and we do a two-way programme, and it works fantastically. I have received copies of the recordings, and the quality of the sound it far exceeds what I thought it would. You've got your own system, which Wi-Fi Spark, which I applaud enormously, because I think that is also going to help other stations. And to that end, I know you've been kept busy with other stations who are expressing an interest in solving their issues. Some stations have got a lot of headsets at the bedside. Specifically, there's 3 or 4 different companies, Hospedia, Hospicom, Premier. They all put these units in. But, there are other ways, and we've got to embrace them. The internet is a good and a bad thing. I can see perhaps both sides, but I like to think that we can take the best of it and make use of it.
Well, you're here today in your role as giving out the long service achievements, and actually we were discussing beforehand, you're coming up to a milestone yourself, aren't you?
I am, aren't I?
Year.
Yes,
yeah. Next
year I'll have been in hospital radio 40 years.
Fantastic.
And when I haven't been able to, because of a silly accident I had. I've been off the road for 3 months. I couldn't travel for a lot longer. And I don't know, I didn't think about these things then, but when I went to Oxford to Radio Charwell at the beginning of this month, I was driving, and it's 130 miles-ish from where I live. So it gives you time to think. And it suddenly occurred to me, well, my own station, which is credited with being the first in the country in 1926, eventually morphed from just a very basic little service to including football commentaries and various other services and a tape recording club. And it eventually started in 1964 as York Hospital Broadcasting Service. So it celebrates 50 years next year.
Wow.
So I thought, right, okay, and that's in January. So, and although my 40th year is actually in the sort of late summer, I still thought that that's a good bouncing off point, and hopefully one of the things I'd like to do is to visit at least 40 hospital radio stations during my 40th year.
Wow. And
I'd love to find a way of making publicity for hospital radio in general. For me, it's about everybody that's out there. It's not about me. I am the president, and I'll do anything that stations want, anything that stations need. So it's about you all, but I want to make sure that the world knows about hospital radio.
Brilliant. And well, consider yourself, Radio Brockley, as being one of your 40 then, if that's okay for next year.
Oh, well, I'll put it in the diary.
Good. That's good to hear. Out of interest, do you know what the longest serving hospital member is? I mean, what's the longest certificate you've given out?
The longest certificate I've given, I was absolutely amazed and thrilled. I was asked to produce one for 60 years.
Wow.
To a lovely guy, Sid, now I've forgotten his surname. It was in Chorley earlier this year, on my way up to conference. So in March this year, I actually went there and we had a party. It was a lovely evening.
Yeah.
He's a lovely old man and he's still broadcasting. And in Wolverhampton, there's a guy who is 94 and still broadcasting.
Brilliant.
So what that says, and I always think this of hospital radio, it doesn't matter what age you are, from teenage to 80 plus, it doesn't matter. If you've got the skills and you can keep going, then it's fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant. 60 years. We've got a bit of a way to go then down here. something to aim for.
But another interesting statistic, because I produce all these certificates, is that I each year keep a record. And I keep a tally of how many certificates and how many stations and how many years those certificates represent. And to date this year, and I, even with my broken arm, managed to keep producing the certificates with great difficulty, but I did. I've had over 50 stations ask for certificates. I've issued 252 certificates.
Goodness me.
And the years that they total are 5,250.
Wow. Isn't that brilliant? So people are still really into hospital radio more than ever then, really.
What does that show?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic statistic. It says there's so many people out there giving so much to hospital radio, and I'm absolutely proud of everybody.
Brilliant. Well, June, what we're going to do is we're going to get a couple of our longer serving people in the studio very shortly and give them their certificate. But just before we do that, you've asked many, many people for requests over the years, I'm sure.
Yes.
So it's only fair that we play you one. So what song can we choose for you?
Well, it's become, Radio Wolfram in Wolverhampton have called it June's song, because I tend to ask for it pretty much everywhere I go.
Yeah.
So Elaine Page and Barbara Dixon, I know him so well.
Oh, I remember this when it was on Top of the Pops as well. They were on some giant chess. Well, it was from the musical Chess, wasn't it? So,
yes, it was.
yeah.
And I love that. I love Chess. It was a fantastic show. I saw it 3 times.
Yeah.
Once with Elaine Page in it and Tommy Korberg, who's the Swedish singer. I'll never forget it. And it's also very special for all kinds of other reasons as well. So
Good, brilliant. Well, we'll have this as an instant request then for June Snowden from the Hospital Broadcasting Association. This is Radio Brockley, celebrating 47 years on the air, and this is a very special Brockley News Extra. And after this, we'll be speaking to Marge Walker, who's celebrating 10 years at Radio Brockley.
Nothing is so good it lasts eternally. Perfect situations must go wrong, but this has never yet prevented me wanting far too much for far too long. Looking back, I could have played it differently. Won a few more moments, who can tell? But it took time to understand the man. Now at least I know him well. Wasn't it good? Oh, so good. Wasn't he fine? Oh, so fine. Isn't it madness? He can't be mine. But in the end, he needs a little bit more than me. More security. I know him so well. No one in your life is with you constantly. No one is completely on your your side. And though I move my world to be with him, still the gap between us is too wide. Looking back, I could have played it differently, learned about the man before I fell, but I was never so much younger then. Now at least I know him well. Wasn't it good? Oh, so good. Wasn't he fine? Isn't it madness? He won't be mine. Didn't I know how it would go if I knew from the start? Why am I falling apart? Wasn't it good? Wasn't he fine? Isn't it madness? He won't be mine. But in the end, he needs a little bit more than me. More security and freedom. I know him so well. It took time to understand him. I know him so well.
Brockley, with music especially for you.
Very nice to hear that one again. I bet you've probably heard that a few times now. I know him so well.
Oh, it's lovely. It really means a lot to me.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, very nice song. Well, now, as promised, we've got Marge Walker here in the studio, who is celebrating 10 years, well, hopefully celebrating 10 years at Radio Brockley. Welcome back, Marge.
Thank you very much.
Lovely
And yes,
to have you.
it is a celebration, very much so.
Good,
Very
I'm glad
much
to
so.
hear. Tell us how you got involved in Radio Brockley. Can you remember how you first heard about us?
Yes. Oh, now we're going back in time. 10 years
Yeah.
ago. All right. I always wanted to do hospital radio, and my local hospital radio station, or my local hospital, I think their hospital radio station was just folding.
Right.
So I was looking around, and I got the local paper, and there was an article in the paper about some sort of a celebration that you had, and it said you were looking for members.
Mm-hmm.
So I phoned up, introduced myself. I think I spoke to Daniel G at the time.
Yeah.
Introduced myself, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yes, and what a history it's been for the last 10 years. Marge has done some very memorable programmes, which we're going to talk about a few of them in the next few minutes. Tell us what your earliest memory of the station is then.
My earliest memory was how welcome I was made to feel when I first joined. I'm looking around, a lot of the members that were here at that time have disappeared or left for whatever reason. But it was very much a family-friendly station. And that I think is one of the things that has enticed me to stay for so long.
Good, well, I'm glad to hear it. A few of us are still here, I'm afraid.
I'm not complaining.
No.
Alan.
Tell us about some of your favourite shows then that you've done over the years.
Well, favourite shows. Now, I can't really talk about the favourite shows without mentioning really the 40th, Radio Brockley's 40th birthday anniversary. We broadcast every weekend. I believe, we started on the Friday of the 40th year and finished on the Sunday. And we had some amazing shows. And I think that's when I really became ingrained in Radio Brockley, because I took the time off work and spent the entire 3 days here, more or less. Absolutely shattered, mind you.
Yeah.
But
It was a brilliant event though, wasn't it?
Yeah. But the best memory has got to be being given the privilege of launching Radio Brockley's 24-hour broadcasting service.
Well, just to recap on what happened here, this happened, well, it was going back about 3-4 years now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you actually had
5
to
years.
do, 5 years ago, you actually had to do a 24-hour non-stop programme with one of our other trustees, Jeremy Levine.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about how, you must have gone through a lot of highs and lows during those 24 hours, I should imagine, did you? Or?
Do you know, the amazing thing about that weekend, because we started broadcasting at 12 o'clock Saturday afternoon, and went right through till 12 o'clock Sunday afternoon. But the most amazing thing, I think, was the teamwork and the support we had from all the Brockley members who weren't necessarily on here, because we had people coming in at 2-3 o'clock in the morning to engineer the show. But what was good for Jeremy and myself was, we had people coming in at ridiculous hours, people coming in with food. It was just, the support was just tremendous. But the good thing was that people came and said, "Oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the music," and they didn't go home. We expected them to come.
No.
They came in here half asleep.
Yeah.
Did their bit and said, "Right, as soon as this is over, I'm going home." And 2-3 hours later, they were still here. It was an amazing weekend.
I remember at the time a lot of patients saying that they loved sort of staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning listening from their beds. We thought actually that people wouldn't be listening at that time in the morning, but they loved it, didn't they?
Well, I have to be honest and say we did prime a few of our regular patients. But the feedback we got, and let's not forget, this is all about the patients. We come down, we play the music, but it is for the patients. We're here to entertain the patients, and the feedback we got from that weekend was absolutely tremendous.
And you couldn't get to sleep after that, could you? I remember you finished at midday, everyone thinking, "Oh, you'll go to bed for 10 hours now." You were back the same evening doing another show at 10 o'clock Sunday evening, if I remember.
Yeah, that's right. And that was completely unplanned, because the plan was we'd do our 24-hour broadcast and I'd go off and get some much needed sleep. I went home, and because the adrenaline was such, I couldn't sleep. I went to bed, I couldn't sleep. I got up after an hour, said, "I might as well go and do something useful."
Come and do a show.
And then both Jeremy and myself came back that night, and I thought it was a really nice touch that we wrapped up the final show of that celebration weekend. But we ended the show, and
you did
that
25
was
hours in actual fact between
in fact,
the two.
yes.
Yeah,
but we only take recognition for 24.
Fair enough. Well, of course, one of the main shows that you've been associated with over the years, for many, many years, is your Tuesday night legendary partnership with Martin Gold.
Not about legendary, but yes.
Well, I would say legendary.
The Tuesday Request Show is my regular show, of course, as you say, alongside Martin Gold. And the funny thing with that is we go on awards, and we've been together, I think, and we've been doing it for so long. I think some patients think that we're married.
I was going to say something about that. But now, if you want to hear an example, if you've not heard the Tuesday Experience team before, not the Tuesday Experience, but the Thursday lot, what do you call your programme again?
We just call it simply the Tuesday Request Show.
Fantastic.
Martin and Marge.
Let's have a listen in to what goes on a Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 9, tune in to Martin and Marge.
And we've been at least 60 years.
Where recently they've been launching a mass rebellion.
You don't have to go to bed when the nurses tell you.
Nor do you have to go to bed immediately after the cocoa's been dished out.
But apart from that, there's a right old carry-on.
Matron!
And it can get very saucy.
But you can put your clothes on after this record.
Yes, indeed.
And sometimes rather heated.
And if you keep arguing with me and questioning my decisions, I will give you a minus. I was about to say I'll dock your points, but you haven't got any.
So join Marge Walker.
OK, gentlemen, calm yourselves, please.
And Martin Gold.
Did you told? Stay in bed.
For the show that's very funny.
Well, I wouldn't even call it a comedy. It wasn't very funny.
That's Funny Peculiar.
Hi, my name's Leroy, and I like a girl who does this.
Every Tuesday from 9 o'clock.
I can't believe I said that.
Right, that's it. So you two, what do you think of the promotion then?
What a load of rubbish. It's Radio Brockley.
I put that promo for you about 5 years ago, didn't I? I still haven't done you another one.
Do you know, I have to say, and I know it's probably singing our own. Well, actually, you put the promo together, unbeknown to us.
There were so many clips I could have used.
I'm sure there was. But I think that really was one of the best jingles. And even now, 5 years later, or however many years it is, it still makes me laugh.
Yeah,
It's infectious.
Yeah.
It's happy. And that's what the patients like to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, very good. But so every Tuesday you can hear myself and Martin Gold or here on Radio Brockley between the hours of 9 and 10 o'clock.
Brilliant. It's well worth a listen, I can tell you. I'm going to hand you over to June now, who's going to present you with your certificate for 10 years.
Oh, she is, yes. As I said, I find it very hard to believe that it is 10 years since I first stepped through the doors of Radio Brockley. Right, I'm hesitating it because I've been told I need to get a photo of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well,
Well, I will do.
likewise, I like photographs wherever I go. I've got quite a collection on my computer. I was saying earlier about how important it is to recognise the hard work, dedication and commitment of members to their hospital radio stations. And hearing all that's been said about your fantastic shows, this is certainly a very worthy certificate. So Marge, it gives me great pleasure to hand this to you. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Lou. Thank you. I have to say, I do feel quite elated to receive this.
Good.
Because I never thought 10 years later I'd still be sitting here and actually enjoying what I do.
Well, you sound as if you're enjoying yourself.
Thank you.
Fantastic achievement, Marge.
Thank you very
Congratulations to you. It's you've done some amazing work at Radio Brockley over the last 10 years, and hopefully many, many more years to come as well.
And for patients who haven't heard it, Ron keeps saying to me, listen to my fireman interview.
Yes. Oh yes. There's another story in there somewhere.
There is indeed.
You
Yes.
you chatted up a few firemen a couple of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just a few.
Well, I had never been in a fire engine, and I was.
Well, hopefully you haven't either.
I've never been in a fire engine, and the guys very kindly took me in and showed me around, and I did an interview with them, which it was supposed to be a 2-minute interview, and I think half an hour later or 2 hours later.
You stretched it out, didn't you, Marge?
Did they let you go down the pole then at the station?
No, it was here. It was.
Part of a fund that
the
was for the
buttercup.
They
buttercup.
brought the engine
Buttercup,
here.
yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
I
Great
expected to hear you climb down the pole.
No, that'd be the next interview.
You can
All right,
do a follow-up. Yeah, exactly. Marge, what song can we play you then as a celebration of your 10 years?
Right, now I've got to say I have been put on the spot, but the one track I think that comes to mind for me is Superwoman. And basically, I'm not a superwoman, but I do my best. Here is Karen White.
Early in the morning, I put breakfast at your table and make sure that your coffee has its sugar and cream. Your eggs are over easy, your toast unlikely. All that's missing is your morning kiss that used to greet me. Now you see the juicy sour. It used to be so sweet, and I can't help but to wonder if you're talking about me. We don't talk the way we used to talk. It's hurting so deep. I've got my pride, I will not cry, but it's making me weak. I'm not your superwoman. I'm not the kind of girl that you can let down and think that everything's okay. Boy, I am only human. This girl needs more than occasional hugs as a token of love from you to me. Ooh, baby. I fought my way through the rush hour, trying to make it home just for you. I want to make sure that your dinner will be waiting for you. But when you get there, you just tell me you're not hungry at all. You said you'd rather read the paper and you don't want to talk. You like to think that I'm just crazy when I say that you changed. I'm convinced I know the problem. You don't love me the same. You're just going through the motions and you're not being fair. I've got my pride, I will not cry. Still I can't help but care. I'm not your superwoman. No. I'm not the kind of girl that you can
And that one for our very own superwoman, Marge Walker. Big thanks to Marge for coming in, and well done for 10 years at Radio Brockley. This is a Brockley News Extra special. We're welcoming down June Snowden, who's the president of the Hospital Broadcasting Association, to present these awards. And next we have Karina Reeves in the studio, an old co-presenter of mine. It's lovely to have you back, Karina.
Thank you for having me.
Celebrating 10 years at Radio Brockley.
Oh, 10 years, eh?
Now, the first thing I should say, actually, is that you may recognise this voice because Karina's actually the voice of Radio Brockley. So all those little jingles that you hear in between is actually your voice, isn't it?
Me.
So yeah. And
So technically they hear me every day, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're probably on this station more than anyone, in actual fact. Do you remember how you got involved in Radio Brockley years ago?
Yes, I do. So I used to work for a company called BHS many years ago. It was my first job.
Oh, yeah.
My parents made me go and get, even though I didn't want to. I was like, okay, I'll get a job. And then I met this guy called Alan Smith. And then I heard this track playing over Christmas, and it was like, BHS, and this was like voiceover, and I went, oh, that sounds really good. He was like, yeah, I recorded it in the studio. And I was like, wow, you've got a studio? He's like, yeah, I present a radio station. I was like, you present? You're pretty cool, wow. And then he went, yeah, I present at Radio Brockley. And I was like, what's all that about? And cut a long story short, I got the information, met a guy called Daniel G, or Gleek, and he had a meeting with him, did a voice test, and cut a long story short, here we are today.
And here you are,
yeah,
years
so
later.
through someone I met at work, introduced Radio Brockley to me, and I came
And
down.
all your parents' fault then?
Yeah.
Sending you out
For
to work.
sending me to work at BHS.
Good job. Well done, Karina's parents.
Yeah.
So, of course, you initially started, or one of your early shows, along with myself, as the midweek pick and mix.
It was.
What are your memories of that particular programme?
Oh, there's loads of
And
fun
be
memories.
kind.
I'll be very kind. Obviously working with yourself and Gemma Insegnat, and I was presenting with a guy called Dudley. He wasn't even from Birmingham or Dudley or anywhere like that, but we used to go, hello, Dudley. Don't think he found it
someone
funny.
Dudley without putting the accent on.
So I presented with him, which was really cool. It was like my first experience presenting. Dudley made tapes in those days. It was tapes 10 years ago. And I was listening to it the other day, and I spoke a lot of rubbish. You know when
No.
someone just talks and talks and talks? Didn't even make sense. Didn't even really need to talk about what I was talking about, but I did. And I was, presenting with Dudley, and the memories were great. We used to go on the ward, collect all the requests that they wanted to do, and interact with them, which was really cool. And it was with the rehab ward, which is quite cool because, you know, they are kind of in rehabilitation, so they're kind of easing their way out of hospital life. And it was nice to kind of meet them because they were out and about, they were walking about, they used to have banter with each other, and it was really fun, really fun. And I used the word juxtaposition a lot.
You did, that was your word, wasn't it? Yeah.
I used to just throw it in with everything I said, even though it didn't really make sense or it was in the right context. But.
So did Radio Brockley inspire you to then go on to do all the other radio and acting and other bits and pieces, or were you already doing a lot of that at that point? I can't really remember the order of it.
Well, I think it kind of gave me a passion and a love for radio and voiceover work, which is what I do a lot of now. With my very tired voice at the moment. But I did dancing and acting and everything when I was younger. So the singing, dancing and acting element kind of helped me have the confidence to kind of come to Radio Brockley and work on that passion, really.
So you went to the Italia Conti school, didn't you, to
I
learn?
did.
One of the very, very famous ones.
I did
How
go
was
there.
that as an experience for you?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. I went there for my university degree. So it wasn't like the normal freshers experience that everyone gets. Like, oh yeah, we go clubbing for 2 weeks and I'm only in 1 day a week. It was literally Monday to Friday, probably 8:30 till 7 o'clock at night, full on, intense. But I loved every minute of it. Made some amazing friends, directors, and it just kind of preps you for the busy, unemployed kind of world of acting and how tough it can really be, because you do a showcase at the end of it. So that's where the school kind of meets in together, and they invite all the industry people to come and watch you, which you wouldn't have if you were at a university doing it.
I always kind of think of it, and this is probably aging me a little bit, of it being like the Kids from Fame, where everyone kind of spontaneously just gets up and starts dancing in the middle of
Singing.
lessons and stuff.
With jazz hands.
Was it anything like that?
It was Italia Conti. Well, I was doing the acting degree, so it wasn't the musical theatre one, which I can
Right.
imagine maybe might have a slight element of that.
Yeah.
But I did go to Sylvia Young Theatre School when I was younger.
Okay.
And that was very much like that. It was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which was the academic subjects, English, art, maths, science, French. And then Thursday, Friday was full vocational. So it was all like, hey, I've got my leotard. I'm going to do ballet, I'm going to do speech, I'm going to do this. So yeah, I loved it.
I was going to say, you're all competing for attention, I suppose, in a way, really, aren't you? So,
but everyone's still really supportive. It wasn't very, no one was nasty or horrible. They were all really supportive and really like, oh, you got a job, it's brilliant. So, there wasn't any nastiness at drama school, which is, people say there is a lot.
No, true. Now, I said you probably heard Karina's voice many places. One of the latest is Chuggington, which I saw for the first time recently. So tell us a little bit about Chuggington for a start. Where can you see it and what do you do in it?
So Chuggington is a cartoon animation about trains. Now, it's aimed at children aged, I think, 2 till 7, perhaps. And it's all about the trains that go on these journeys that kind of use health and safety in their life, or slow down, they don't run anywhere because they're on the tracks, things like that. And I play a character called Tyne, who's part of a Chugganeering team. So this team are the kind of, I'm a bit of a boisterous tomboy character, and I lay the tracks down in order to kind of extend the tracks in Chuggington. And I also I put explosives around a mounting so it crumbles down so we can lay more tracks. It's a bit of a complicated character, but I'm basically a tomboy.
Is it the most complex character you've played, Karina?
I think it is. Yeah. But that's basically what Chuggington is, and you can watch it on CBeebies. Mondays at 5 o'clock. Not plugging it at all.
It's the orange and white one, if you're watching it. Is that right? It's striped one.
Yes. Yeah. Looks like this for all of you guys.
Oh, this will work well on radio, right? Okay, so it's got it's kind of it's got like chevrons on its nose.
Yeah,
almost,
chevrons, green eyes. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Yeah, sounds like this. Can't go wrong.
But you've done lots of other voiceover work as well. In fact, you've even done bits for Radio 1 and stuff, haven't you?
Yep, Radio 1. Just done an advert for Coca-Cola, actually.
Have you?
Yeah. Coca-Cola are bringing out new Red Bull size cans. So
other colas are available.
Other colas are available, but if you did have a preference, Coca-Cola might be one. And I am the voice on the television advert for Coca-Cola.
Brilliant.
Saying, hi, Coca-Cola. I don't really remember what I said, but it was good at the time. So that comes out tomorrow. No, 1st of October, Tuesday.
So we'll all get to see this, will we?
On television, yeah.
Wow. Oh,
it's quite a big one, yeah.
And your other big gig at the moment is you've got your own show on Westside FM, haven't you?
I have, yeah. Westside FM, presenting Mondays 7 till 9 o'clock, and it's called The Voice. Don't do any talking at all on that show.
No, I can imagine.
And yeah, it's talking about all jobs and training. So meeting lots of people and talking about how people can get better jobs and training, I suppose. And play loads of like hardcore R&B, dubstep, house.
Is that your sort of music now? Is that the sort of thing you listen to most of the time?
Not really. Sometimes I put Classic FM on and have a little bit of let's just listen. Bit of Radio 2, Radio 4, The Archers, LBC. I'm a bit of a...
There's not much music in that.
No, it's not. But I like the banter and I like learning about current affairs. So I kind of have a mixed kind of genre of juxtaposition of music.
Well, we're about to find out a bit about your musical taste now.
Yes.
But just before we do that, I shall hand over to June again to present you with your certificate.
Well, it's lovely to hear about all of your escapades and how you got involved in hospital radio. And it's amazing how differently people find themselves doing things and how coincidental it can be that you managed to get involved in a station. And I wish you well with your career because it sounds very exciting.
Thank you.
But also, it's lovely to know that you're giving an awful lot of time, energy and effort to Radio Brockley, and in recognition of those 10 years that you've so far clocked up, here's your certificate.
Amazing!
10 years, well done.
This is amazing, and it's framed
Congratulations.
and everything.
Yeah.
It's just going on my wall.
No expense spent. Right, so whilst we're going to take a few more photos,
Brilliant.
Can we play you a piece of music then?
You can. So going back to when we presented the midweek Pick-a-Mix, I used to rant on about McFly. So up next on Radio Brockley, It's All About You.
Radio Brockley is my favorite radio station.
It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. It's
Yesterday you asked me something I thought you knew, so I told you with a smile, it's all about you. Then you whispered in my ear and you told me to. Said you make my life worthwhile, it's all about you. And I would answer all your wishes if you asked me to. But if you deny me one of your kisses, don't know what I do. So hold me close and say 3 words like you used to do. Dancing on the kitchen tiles, it's all about you, yeah. But if you deny me one of your kisses, don't know what I do. So hold me close and say 3 words like you used to do. Dancing on the kitchen tiles, yes, you made my life worthwhile. So I told you with a smile, it's all about. It's all about you. It's about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you.
McFly and All About You. I had a funny feeling that Karina might choose a McFly song because she actually managed to get a signed McFly CD when we were actually doing the show together, and they were at the absolute height of their success at the time. And one lucky patient I remember was absolutely thrilled to bits to be given that. I remember her screaming
superb.
on the phone from her ward. The rest of the ward must have wondered what on earth had gone on.
I bet.
But, yeah, she was absolutely thrilled to bits with that. So well done to Karina and Marge for 10 years at Radio Brockley.
Fantastic.
We were just saying, June, weren't we, how, you know, it's lovely how people after 10 years and many more are still so enthusiastic about what they do.
Absolutely. For me, when you hear somebody being so excited about receiving that recognition, as far as I'm concerned, that makes it all so worthwhile, me producing the certificate and presenting them. And yeah, they've done a good job, and it doesn't matter whether people have been in 5 minutes or 50 years. As far as I'm concerned, everybody does a good job in hospital radio, and I applaud them all, and I'm very proud of them all.
I should say at this point that there are 2 people who unfortunately couldn't be here today who've also received long service awards, and they are Lorraine Joyce, who's done 15 years at Radio Brockley, and Sue Weston, who's achieved 30 years, which is a fantastic achievement as well. So well done to both of those.
Yes, definitely.
June, thank you very much for coming down. We'll chat more very shortly. But we go from some of our longer serving members to our very newest, Dervla Coffey, who's here in the studio, who's done a very first show today.
Yes.
How did it go for you, Dervla?
I loved every minute.
Yeah.
Yes, it was great. Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
So it's All About Soul is what it's called, and this is the new Saturday evening programme. So why did you want to do a soul show?
I think my love of soul music began back when I was a child in Wicklow in Ireland.
Right.
So, yeah, my mum and dad used to play it, and me and my 6 brothers and sisters, we used to love listening to it in the car in the background. So I think that's where my love of that music came from, and I was delighted to be asked to do a soul show on a Saturday night. So I'm really excited.
So what are some of your favourite artists then?
I'd have to say the Supremes, definitely Diana Ross and the Supremes, Ray Charles, the Four Tops, lots of Motown, Atlantic Records, a mix of everything though. I love everything from the 6 decades of soul music really, right up to, until today.
Well, you very cleverly launched the show today with all songs from 1966, and that was quite a classic year for the Motown soul era, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There was so many I had to look at and choose from. It was hard just to pick the songs I picked, you know, but hopefully I picked good ones that all the patients enjoyed.
Yeah, fantastic. What is your sort of favourite era, would you say, for soul and Motown music?
I would say the 60s. I think the 60s is where it all changed, where it all started and where it all changed. And I think soul music of today is different. It's just as good, but it's very different. You know, I think how they used to record back then, and they used to make songs and music just, you know, off hook really, and sit in a studio, and I have a bit of a romanticism back with the 60s, so yeah, definitely.
So now who would you say is kind of, you know, the nearest to replicating that sort of sound, or who would you particularly recommend more recently in that sort of scene?
I'd have to recommend Bruno Mars, I think, nowadays. So I think Bruno, he reminds me of some of the Motown guys. He's a bit of a showman, and I've seen him in concert. I'm actually going to see him again next month. So yeah, I think he's definitely got soul, and he's got a mix of music that sounds like back in that day.
A lot of influences there, aren't there?
A lot of influences. So if anyone can, get his record.
Sounds good.
Definitely enjoy some Bruno Mars.
So how did you find out about Radio Brockley? As I say, you've only been here just a few months, haven't you? How did you find out about us? Yeah,
well, I've always wanted to get involved with radio, and I just thought, well, bite the bullet and just, you know, go for it. And I did some research online, and Radio Brockley was right at the top of that list. And
brilliant.
Yeah, the longest running hospital radio. So I sent some emails and I made some phone calls, and I was absolutely thrilled when Graham gave me a call to ask me to come and join, and that's really how I've got involved, and loving every minute.
And you come from a background of doing a lot of work with patients as well, don't you?
Yes, I'm a nurse, an orthopaedic nurse. So it's great to be involved with the radio station, which hopefully brings so much to the patients.
So you, more than anyone, understands the audience and what they're after, really.
Yeah, definitely.
One-to-one contact and everything else.
Definitely. I think it's all about the patients, and we wouldn't be here if they weren't involved.
Absolutely.
And listening, and if they didn't get involved in supporting us, you know, and we're so grateful. I know Radio Brockley is so grateful for their support, and my favourite part is the bingo, when I get to talk to the patients on a Sunday night, and they teach me a lot about music as well. So
it's amazing, isn't it, June, how bingo has kind of just stood the test of time over the years. It's a format that was going since the very early days of hospital radio.
You can't change it though. It either works or it doesn't. You know, there's nothing that you can do to make it any sort of updated or anything.
No.
I can't imagine.
Nothing has sort of superseded it, really, has it?
No.
In all those years, I think people are enjoying it now as much as they ever did.
And at first, when it was suggested that it be introduced in hospital radio, people were saying, well, how can that work? Labour intensive, etc. Well, it depends how you do it and how creative you are. But, you know, perhaps in some cases they would, because they hadn't enough crew to actually visit all the wards, well, just concentrate on one ward or something like that. In the case of here, for example, the number of patients is less than in a general hospital. So they would have to focus in particular areas. But I think it's fantastic, and it involves all the patients. The nice thing is that if you go and give out a whole load of cards to just one ward, it doesn't matter. Every single person gets involved. When the numbers are called and somebody shouts house and all the rest of it, it's all very it's good communication, but it's also involving them. It's like being in a community, isn't it?
Definitely.
It definitely brings people together, doesn't it? When you've got a ward full of people who've maybe never chatted together before, and then suddenly during bingo they're all chatting to each other. It gets very competitive.
And similarly, if you take a programme down the ward, I remember many years ago I came here and we were doing the programme from one of the wards, and it just, everybody wonders what's going on. Curiosity partly, but then you start talking to patients on air, and then somebody else wants to be involved, where previously they might have been extremely shy or even said no. But as soon as they realise how it works, it's amazing. And you can end up with a party down the wards, of course.
Yeah. Very enjoyable for everybody.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Oh, well, we look to a lot more interaction on your programme then, Dervla. Have you got any plans to do any of that during your future shows?
Yeah,
Get the patients involved?
Yes, hopefully, you know, maybe a quiz here and there, or, you know, hopefully requests, you know, they'll tell me their requests, you know. I'm sure they could definitely teach me a thing or two about soul as well, from that era. So,
well, thinking of requests then, have you got a favourite soul tune that you'd like to quickly treat us to now? What would you say is one of your favourites? One
of my favourites, I have to say, is Arthur Connolly, Sweet Soul Music, and I think it's a great song for the show. It's energetic and it's about the love of soul music. So I think it's a great song. I hope everybody enjoys it as much as me.
Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing this during your series then. So it's Saturday evenings, 9 till 10.
Yes.
All about soul.
Yep. Hopefully you can join me.
Look forward to hearing it. Let's hear from Arthur Connolly.
Radio Brockley, now live on Wi-Fi Spark.
Do you like good music? That sweet soul music. Just long as it's swinging. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We out here on the floor, y'all. Going to a go. Dancing with the music. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Spotlight on Lou Ross, y'all. Don't it look for y'all? Singing love to her to thing, y'all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Spotlight on Sammy Dave, y'all. Don't it look great, y'all? Singing hold on, I'm coming. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Spotlight on Wilson Pickett now. That wicked singing Rustain Sally. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Spotlight on Otis Redding now. Singing bam, 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 bam. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Get it, Otis. Spotlight on Jane Brown, y'all. He the king of them all, y'all. He the king of them all, y'all. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Do you like good music? That sweet soul music. Just long as it's swinging. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I got to get the feeling. I got to get the feeling. Do you like good music? That sweet soul music. Help me get the feeling. I want to get the feeling.
Broadcasting to the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital in Stanmore. This is Radio Brockley.
Great to hear from June Snowden and all the gang before. A big thanks to June for coming down to Radio Brockley as ever. Now, before we go today, we've got just a few minutes to tell you about another regular show on Radio Brockley. The Alpha Sessions is all about the very best new and unsigned recording artists and can be heard on Friday evenings at 8 o'clock and on Sunday evenings at 6. And its host is Emma Nuriel. Now, on our birthday celebration, she welcomed an artist called Annie Lovell to the studio to perform live. And here is one of the tracks she performed. It's called Like This.
Another summer's day, but it's getting cold. Perfect place to lay right on your shoulder. kiss anyone else like this, and I'll never 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 kiss anyone else like this. So lay by my side tonight, lay here and kiss me, yet you will and fight alone. Lay by my side tonight, lay here and kiss me, yet you will and fight.
Her name's Annie Lovell, an amazing new artist to listen out for. Do check out more about her. Go to our website, and if you want to find out more about the Alpha Sessions programme, you can go to its brand new website, which is www.thealphasessions.com. And don't forget to tune into that on Radio Brockley every Friday evening at 8 o'clock and Sunday evenings at 6 as well. And you can catch up with this and other previous editions of Brockley News and Brockley News Extra by logging onto our website at radiobrockley.org. Now, if there's anything else happening here in the hospital that you want to find out more about, you can call us here on extension 5483 and we'll try and cover it on future editions of Brockley News and Brockley News Extra. Stay tuned to Radio Brockley across the week for more information about the events and services available in the hospital, along with the widest range of music you'll ever hear to suit all tastes. You can now catch Brockley News Extra on Radio Brockley's Monday to Friday lunchtimes at midday, Monday evenings at 8, plus Brockley News every Sunday at 8 o'clock just before bedside bingo. From me, Alan Joyce. Goodbye.